World nations have spent considerable resources on strengthening their military capabilities by developing ever more advanced weapons. Simply having this equipment at hand, though, doesn't always suffice. It's also important to be able to operate it. That's why an enormous amount of time and money goes into training military personnel to minimize the human risk factor. But unfortunately, this doesn't always go without incident, and might even result in the harm of both equipment and people. Here are 15 military fails caught on camera. In the Russian city of Kursk, a military parade was held in celebration of the 75th anniversary of victory in World War II. It didn't seem like anything could go wrong. Soldiers marched down the main street, with military vehicles following suit. After the parade, the tanks were loaded up onto transport vehicles, but something went wrong when loading one of the tanks. A T-72 tank slipped off the platform and flipped over. There were people nearby, but fortunately no one was injured. The tank ended up being flipped back to its original position. Another incident involving a T-72 occurred in Minsk. During a military parade rehearsal, one of the tanks fell behind in the convoy and started accelerating to catch up. As a result, the T-72 skidded off track and knocked down a concrete post and a tree. None of the bystanders were injured. Now, let's move to collisions between ships in the ocean, which can result in consequences that are even more devastating than the ones we've seen. In 2007, the German S-71 Gepard and S-76 Frechen missile boats were cruising to the coast of Lebanon, intending to discourage arms smuggling in the area. However, it's likely that one of the ship captains decided to have some fun, caring little for the peaceful trip, and ended up ramming the Gepard, resulting in multi-million-dollar losses. Fortunately, neither of the ship crews was injured. We can attribute the last incident to human error, sure, but this time machinery was the culprit. The FGS Sachsen frigate acted together with the FGS Lübeck near the Arctic Circle. During a military training exercise, a SM-2 rocket was launched and exploded immediately after launch, raining shrapnel and sparks down onto the frigate. The explosion caused minor injuries to 2 crew members and scorched the paint off the sides of the frigate vertical launching elements. This isn't the first incident that this missile had been in. Earlier, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Pinckney had an incident when an SM-2 missile detonated in mid-air a few seconds after launch. It was later found that this was caused by a malfunction in the Aegis system that controls these missiles. After the rocket launch, the Aegis system went into emergency mode for unknown reasons. At a military parade in Sevastopol, during the launch of a missile from the Russian patrol ship Ladny, an abnormal failure occurred. It was caused by the launch booster firing earlier than needed, which caused the missile to fall into the sea a few meters away from the ship. In 1961, the US tested the Atlas missile at Vandenberg Air Force Base on the California coast. This missile was to fundamentally change the division of power between the Soviet Union and the United States. The video shows that the launch did not go according to plan and the missile exploded almost immediately after launch. Fortunately, a dummy warhead was used during the test and no one was injured. Just imagine the consequences if the missile was outfitted with an actual warhead. This next incident occurred in China. The first missile that was launched from the S-300 missile system flew properly, but the second missile flew along an unclear trajectory, after which it exploded right in the air. The S-300 isn't known to be an incident-free missile system. In this video, the missile decided to return to the ground after launching. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Now, let's move on to howitzers. These combat vehicles are designed to destroy defensive structures, manpower and firepower, and weapons and military equipment. In this video, a shot from the MSTAS Howitzer resulted in a torn gun barrel and a detached muzzle. Thanks to their sheltered positions, the fighters managed to evade their own gun and remained unharmed. The Admiral Kuznetsov aircraft carrier is the flagship of the Russian Navy and the Northern Fleet. It was intended to strike fear into the hearts of Russia's enemies, but it actually acquired quite a sorrowful reputation. For example, in 2019, when the aircraft carrier was undergoing scheduled repair work, a fire broke out during welding operations, which resulted in the death of 2 servicemen and 14 other injuries. Earlier in 2016, a plume of smoke billowed from the aircraft carrier during a trip to Syria, much to the concern of the global community. Many world leaders urged Russia not to use the ship because of the possible effects on the ecosphere. Russia should have decommissioned this ship long ago, in our opinion. The following accident occurred on the Royal Navy's newly built aircraft carrier, the HMS Prince of Wales. A faulty fire system released thousands of gallons of water into the ship's compartment, destroying electrical systems. Although the water was quickly pumped out, it took several months and cost £3.5 million to repair the ship. The next event occurred this month at the Coca Beach Airshow 2021. There were a lot of people on the beach, and the show itself was pretty spectacular. It did not, however, go smoothly. The pilot of a Grumman TBF Avenger bomber heard a strange noise coming from the engine and decided to make an emergency landing. The professionalism of the pilot, who quickly found his bearings and landed the plane in the water, resulted in no loss of life. The pilot was also left unharmed and declined medical attention. In the following video, a MiG-29 fighter caught fire on takeoff. As representatives of the Belarusian Air Force later reported, the cause of the fire was a faulty engine. The cost of an aircraft like this is $22 million. This A-3 was hijacked by a mentally unstable former U.S. Army tank driver, Sean Nelson. Nelson broke into the armory and took turns trying to start the tanks and succeeded on the third. He then left the warehouse and tried several times to ram a pedestrian bridge support column. Then he drove onto the freeway and got stuck on the concrete barrier that separated 2 sides of the freeway. Police took the opportunity to open the driver's hatch and ordered Nelson to surrender. But he did not respond and continued to accelerate, at which point the police had no choice but to open fire. That'll be it for today. Let us know in the comments what you were most impressed with. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay in the know. See you soon!